Hi, I'm Marcy. Welcome to Community Kitchen. Today I am going to show you how to make my roasted Chipotle chicken enchiladas. It's a family favorite and pretty easy to do. So first I've got my chicken breasts on my rimmed baking sheet with parchment paper. Don't forget the parchment paper. It makes cleanup much easier. So I am literally going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil over my chicken breasts. I'm going to add a little bit of freshly ground pepper. And last, but certainly not least, some flaky sea salt. That's all you have to do. And then I'm going to pop it in the oven, which I have preheated to 400 degrees, and it'll be ready in about 15 minutes. Now I'm going to prep the vegetables for my enchilada sauce. So in my bowl here, I have a small bunch of kale, which I'm going to add to my food processor. If you do not have a food processor in your kitchen, go out and buy one immediately. It does not have to be a fancy brand. It does not have to be expensive, but it will save you so much time when you're prepping your meals because it does all the chopping for you. So I've got my bunch of kale. I've got a yellow onion that I've quartered that I'm going to stick in there. I've got a yellow bell pepper that's been seeded that I'm also going to stick in there. And then I've got 4 garlic cloves, which I've crushed. Last, I've got my chipotle peppers in adobe sauce, excuse me. I'm going to add, these are actually quite large, so I'm going to add 1 large and maybe 2 small because these do have a little bit of spiciness to it. This dish is mildly spicy, so you can beef up the spice with more chipotle or you can take down the spice with less chipotle. So I've got it all in my food processor. And I'm going to pulse. Okay, all set. Okay, we've now moved over to the stovetop. I'm going to turn my pot on a medium-high heat, add a little bit of olive oil, and I'm now going to saute all of the vegetables I've just pureed. So I'm adding those to my pot. I got a nice little sizzle going here. So these, you just want to kind of cook them until you start getting that nice kind of fragrant veggie mix. So with the veggie mix, I'm going to saute it on medium-high for just a few minutes. And then I'm going to start adding all of the other ingredients for my sauce, which include, I've got some, next to go in, I've got some cumin. So I've got about a tablespoon of ground cumin. And this really makes this smell amazing. With the vegetables simmering a little bit and the cumin added in, you get an amazing, delicious fragrance going here. Next, I'm going to add, so what I have here are crushed fire roasted tomatoes. I always use fire roasted crushed tomatoes in this recipe because the fire roasted tomatoes give it such a nice kind of smoky flavor. I've also got some tomato paste, which is going to add a little thickness to my sauce. I'm going to add just 1 teaspoon of this adobe sauce from my chipotle peppers because, again, I don't want this to be overwhelmingly spicy. We are a spice-loving family, but if it's too spicy, my children will not eat it. And I've added chicken stock. So I've got 2 cups of chicken stock, all of my tomato, my crushed tomatoes, my tomato paste. I've got my cumin, all of my veggies. Now all I have to do is just let this simmer for about 15 minutes. You want it to thicken up and just get some of that liquid evaporated off. Okay, so I've got my sauce on the stovetop simmering away so it'll thicken up. My chicken breast just came out of the oven. I have a confession to make. I typically use boneless chicken breast with the skin on, but there was a little mix up with the chicken, so we have here just boneless, skinless chicken breast. But the reason I like the skin on chicken breast is it helps keep the moisture in the chicken when you've roasted it. I always take the skin off before I shred it. So here I'm shredding my chicken. You do not have to cook these chicken breasts all the way through because the next step for these enchiladas is to obviously assemble them, put them in their tortillas, and then they're going back in the oven to bake. So if your chicken is a little pink, that is okay. In fact, you want it to be a little pink. The worst thing you could possibly do is overcook your chicken and then it turns out to be really dry. Okay, my sauce is finished simmering. My chicken has been shredded. What you want to do next is reserve about a quarter of the sauce you've just made, because this is going to go over the top as your sauce for your enchiladas. So I'm going to take a quarter of my sauce out and set that aside for now. I'm going to add my shredded chicken to my sauce. Stir my chicken in. Get it nice and coated, nice and mixed. Your sauce, you don't want your sauce to be super thick, because once you add the chicken, it obviously thickens the sauce up quite a bit. Okay, so I've got my sauce, I've added my shredded chicken. I'm now gonna add my queso fresco. So queso fresco, you buy it sort of in this round, it comes round in the plastic container, and you wanna crumple it up into your sauce. And I'm reserving half of my queso fresco to put on top of your enchiladas once they're ready to go in the oven. So I've reserved my sauce, which is also gonna go on top of the enchiladas, and then I'm gonna sprinkle it also with the remaining queso fresca. Okay, so I am stirring all of this together. And again, the sauce does not need to be super thick, because I've added my cheese, I've added my chicken. I'm gonna add approximately a cup, maybe a little bit more, of the sauce to my tortillas. And today I am using just your basic kind of home style flour tortillas to make mine, but you're certainly welcome to use any type of tortilla that your family enjoys. You can use corn tortillas, or there are a lot of other svelte tortillas, all sorts of different brands and options out there on the market if you're gluten-free or corn-free or whatever it is. So now I'm just going to do this with all of my tortillas. I use sort of the small tortillas, not the big giant ones, but just the small ones, because they fit nicely in my baking pan. My enchiladas are assembled. I've got them in my baking dish. I'm gonna now add all of my reserved sauce to the top and spread that out so that it's covering my enchiladas and it gets all yummy and bubbly, and these are meant to be eaten with a fork, obviously. I'm gonna take some of my queso fresco, sorry, I keep mispronouncing the cheese I'm using, and I'm gonna crumble this over the top as well. So this is gonna give it a nice little cheesy finish. My oven is still preheated to 400 degrees, so basically the same temperature that I use to roast my chicken breasts. These are gonna go in, first of all, covered for about 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna uncover it and finish them off for about 10 to 15 more minutes. All right. My enchiladas just came out of the oven. They're roasted beautifully. I'm gonna quickly whip up my garnish, my sour cream garnish. In my house, we love a limey sour cream. So I've got a cup of sour cream. I've got 1 lime juiced, and I'm gonna whisk it together to make a really yummy drizzle sauce for my enchiladas. It's a little bit on the runny side. If you like your sour cream garnish to be a little thicker, then obviously you can add more sour cream to this. And then I'm going to plate my enchiladas. Here I've also got, if you know me, you know that I am obsessed with microgreens. These I have are pea shoot microgreens, which I'm going to garnish my enchiladas with. I know it sounds strange, but trust me, they're delicious and they make it look really beautiful on the plate. So I'm going to very carefully extract my roasted enchilada from this pan, which is easier said than done, especially if you're trying to make it look photographic worthy. Okay. I'm going to drizzle my sour cream. And then garnish with my pretty microgreens. Ta-da!